around and see, boom, you can see that. Ooh, that's good. Nice. Wow. Hello everyone, welcome to 2 and 3D. So today we are going to be working on this puppet. So just for clarity, I did not create this character. This character was given to me by a client. He wanted me to walk him through certain things, and he eventually told me to just create a puppet from like scratch, using, well, not from scratch, using this character, and then he will follow the tutorial. So this tutorial is for him, and just for any other person that want to learn. So this is the image he sent to me. Well, not an image, he sent to me a Photoshop file, but like I always say, I always work on in Illustrator. I always use vector, except for situations where I cannot use vector, then that is where I have to use Photoshop. But in this case, I could use Adobe Illustrator, which is why I ended up sticking with that. So I'm not going to enumerate all the advantages of using Adobe Illustrator, but well, I've covered that in previous videos. Maybe just check around, you'll see it. So first thing you do is you work on the face. Well, so far I'm just tracing. So you trace the outlines that was given. So I traced the outline, followed it. But one thing you need to do is you need to separate certain layers. So layers that are going to be moving independently, you make sure you put those in a separate layer and work on them separately. So like you see, I'm actually not drawing the boobs over her chest, because that is going to be separate, because I'm going to be animating, well, not really animating, I'm going to be rigging that separately. So it is going to be moving separately. If I end up making it together with the character's torso, it will be a bit difficult to actually get that to morph. So that is why you have to know exactly what you are going to be moving and separate those. So for the legs, as you can see, because her skirt is covering most of the upper leg, I didn't have to draw those, and even the ones I drew had to even stay behind the skirt. So, well, just do away with whatever you think it's not necessary, but just make sure you separate those layers, because that is very, very important. You don't just draw every single thing in one layer. You make sure you separate those parts that are going to be moving. Her hair is one of those parts that are going to be moving. Her face is separate from her eyes, nose, mouth, all those facial features, and work on the arm separately, because that is going to be moving separately. So that's basically it. So after that, I went in and started drawing the eyes and well, the mouth and the nose. But in this case, I'm not drawing them to rig them. I'm drawing them so that I can get rid of this image, because this image was actually slowing down my computer, because I think they were very high resolution images, and aside from that, there were so many layers. If you actually checked from the beginning, there were so many layers, so I had to get rid of that. So after that, I worked on her main head. That's the hair that is visible in front of her, the hair in front, and then you cover every single holes, just so that you can actually use the paint bucket too. Else you have to and alternatively you have to use maybe your pen tool, and then you draw out the paint, like you paint within the lines using your paint your pen tool. So just if you want to make maybe an alpha layer that like for her glasses, like what I did there, what you just need to do is need to separate, make that a separate layer, and then apply, maybe group it and then apply an alpha to it. But make sure you add in a name, maybe name it whatever, 1 2 3 ABC, whatever, just length, whatever you want to name it that. If you do not name it, if it's named group and you export it into Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Character Animator, is not going to work. It's going to just be black. It's going to be a plain color, so you have to name it. So what I did here was, because I actually wanted to work on the arms, initially I was going to make so many cycle trigger arms for this character, but I actually decided against it, because I just knew that it's going to be damn stressful. So what I ended up doing was I picked a reference, and then I used that to actually work on some of the fingers. Okay, so you start drawing, and in my own case, what I did was I created both arm A and arm B together. So like, let's say the default arm position, I created it for arm A, and then I used the default position that is supposed to be for arm B, and still recreated it in the same arm A. For instance, what I'm creating right now, what I did there is for arm A, and normally for arm A, that is the arm in front, the arm that is way more displayed, the one that is at whatever I call it arm A, but it could be your right or your left depending on which position your character is facing. So in this case is the arm in front. So the arm behind, you still create it, but then you can still actually put it in arm A because it could work. For instance, if your character is actually twisting his hand to the opposite direction, even if it's arm A, it could be you could use an arm B default arm to display that. So well, just create whatever arm trigger you think is that your character will be using. I tried the pointing, I tried arm like him squeezing his arms, her squeezing her arms together. I created widespread arms, just different arm positions that I think will be necessary for this character. So you just do whatever you want to do. When you could actually use these to create cycle. Well, it's just that I did not cover that in this video, but you could use these arms that were created to create so many arm cycle triggers, and that would actually be way better because it will make your character to have more depth, and it will just make it look way better than using draggables. Honestly, I normally would never use draggables, but I just did not have so much choice this time because I have way so much work. I have been honestly. So just work on the arms, and one thing you need to, okay, you see in my own case what I'm doing there is I'm actually like I'm not making a space. You see, normally there's supposed to be a point where the arm comes in contact with the like the wrist. So there's supposed to be, the arm is not just supposed to be round like he's wearing a glove. But I did that because I knew in my mind I was going to add in an overlay layer. Well, this is too complex. Well, just ignore all this, just draw your arms and maybe clean up the lines, the overlapping lines that you think, like in my own case this line is actually overlapping. The ones that is supposed to be around his wrist is overlapping. So just do that and clean it, or do it and do it without letting it overlap. However you want to do it is fine. So in my own case, after doing all this, I had to come in, I painted it, and then I duplicated these fingers to and B. So you see I'm duplicating, like I duplicated it right now, and then I flipped it. So you can actually flip it, and then you see I overlaid a solid color, a solid skin color. That's her skin color. I overlaid it over the arm, and that is why you can see that there is no overlapping lines. Okay, I think after this I lost a few clips. I think OBS started misbehaving, so I think I lost the clip where I actually rearranged these layers, and then I repainted it. What I did here was that blue color was not just looking good, so I changed it to red, and then I arranged every single layer. So the character is the main layer, and then I went on and then I created the first profile, which is right, and then from there I created the head, the body. Under the body we have the torso and the legs and just the skirt and every other thing, and under the face we have the FFT, which is the facial this in features, and then we have the face itself, which are in separate groups or separate layers in your own, whichever one you want to use. So now what I am doing currently, I'm trying to straighten the eyebrow so that I can use a pen tool to create it with just one line, which is really cool. It's a very cool feature. It's something I love about Adobe Character Animator, Adobe Illustrator, because you could actually use whatever you want to use as a brush. So I'm going to use this eyebrow as a brush. You see right now I'm using the pen tool. I just drew one line, and then with that one line I can convert it, boom, into a brush. And I made a mistake, so I did not flip the original brush, and that's what I did. And then you create the brush again. After creating the brush, what you now do is you now draw the line, boom, and then boom, you have your eyebrow there. And you could just adjust just a few. You don't have to adjust a lot of vertices. You just need to adjust just 2 or 3 vertices just so that you can align with the eyebrow. And you do the same thing for the other brow, and then boom, you have it right there. So after doing stuff like this, now I can create whatever facial triggers I have in mind. In this case, I actually created, the first trigger I created was, I think, was the angry. Well, okay, so I think it was a sad face that I created. So you don't underestimate what the eyebrow could actually do for the face. The eyebrow could change the face so much. It could give you so many emotional triggers. You could get so many emotional triggers just from the eyebrow alone. So I'm working on the angry pose, and that's what, so you just drag everything. You see I'm manipulating the entire brush with just like 3 vertices, and that's really 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 cool. So you need to learn this method. This method will really save you, and that's what I actually use for my arm cycle triggers, so that I could just come and change, like this eyebrow right now, I could come in and change this eyebrow to whatever color or to whatever shape I want without stress. So I just need to redraw the brush, redraw a different eyebrow and then make it into a brush, and then select every single brush that I've created, boom, and then switch to whatever brush. So it's really really cool. Honestly, you need to learn that. It will really really save you so much time. And you see, I just wanted to create this character from scratch and make every single thing. That is why actually, if not, I could just replace some of my, use an initial eyebrow that I've created for one of my other characters, just slap it onto this character and then maybe adjust it to whatever this, and you could get exactly this eyebrow. So that's really really cool. So after doing the main pose, what you now do is the in between. So you don't just want your eyebrow to just move from default to angry straight up, boom, in one frame. That is wrong. That will not look very good. It will look very jumpy. So what you need to do, you need to ease it in, and that is why you create an in between, and that's what I'm doing right here. So creating an in-between is way easier than you think. Like for instance, I have the main pose. All you just need to do is to duplicate that pose and then readjust it just a little bit so that it is in between the default position and that position. So whatever, if it's angry position, you just adjust that, the first frame, and which is the in-between frame, you just need to adjust it just a little so that it is sort of like in between what the default looks like and what the angry position looks like. So you could just be tweaking, just like maybe moving the vertices just a little bit, and you get a very good result. So after that, I worked on the eyes. So normally, okay, what you do is you use the default eyes. You first make a wider eye, so that is the first one, because you have to get a wider, from the default you have to get a wider eyes, just so that if you want her to look like surprised or something like that, or scared or something, or jumpy, whatever it is. So you do that, and then you keep reducing the eyes from the default up until the eye closes, and that is where you get all the this and then all the eye shapes that you need, and then you color in all the shapes, and then you move on. And then I moved to the mouth. So I picked a reference because I want to actually see how mouth deforms. I can actually do this without looking at a reference, but just so that it will encourage you, get a reference. You could actually go to my site. I believe I have some free faces or free characters with mouths and stuff like that, so you could just pick that. I have a bunch of free mouths actually. I a package actually that is on the site for free, so you could just go and get the mouth shapes, and then you use that as a reference. I know when I started out initially, I had a problem with creating mouths, because it's a bit difficult to get some of these things online. What you get, you will not get a very ones that are very good. You just see different shapes of mouth that is just trying to give you how to pronounce vowels and consonants. So mine will give you all the all the visions that you need for your character, for your Adobe Puppet. So just go and use your default mouth. You get the default mouth position, and the upper lip doesn't move as much. You could adjust it to move, but those movements are not very noticeable. It's not something that would actually make your character not look good. So just ignore the upper lip, let the upper lip not move, let every movement be coming from the down lip, and then you could just be adjusting this. There are two ways I make mouth. I use the morphing system, and then in this case I'm using the actual drawing. So you go in and then you draw it out outrightly. So with this, I think we're done with this character. Well, we're going into rigging, so we're done with the drawing, we're done with Adobe Illustrator for now. So I'm just going to close this right here, because we're already like 20 minutes in, or close to 15 minutes in. So I'm going to draw the curtain right here, and then we'll come back and then we'll continue with rigging. So thank you for watching. Please give us a like, give us a sub. It will help us to reach more people, and it will also help us to reach you more contents like this in the future. Thank you, and bye for now.